Most consumers here in the United States are drawn towards our favorite developers. Every year, they all hold their little press conferences, these meetings, these big events that they stream online, unveiling their newest products. We're all sucked into these new products. We always want the biggest and the best, but what holds most of us back in many instances is the cost. But once we finally convince ourselves that that cost isn't all that bad, we make the purchase and we're completely ignoring one cost, the human cost with those goods, whether it's from Apple, Microsoft, Dell, whoever. A lot of these major corporations are getting parts and components for their new devices from the use of child labor in foreign countries. Joining me now to explain this is Scott Hardy with Top Class Actions. And Scott, we have heard, over the years, a little bit here, a little bit there, about the mining of cobalt taking place that's used in these lithium-ion batteries, which are now essentially in every electronic good you buy. But we don't really pay that much attention to it. And according to a new lawsuit, we ought to be paying a lot of attention, not just to what the companies are doing, but what's happening with this cobalt mining. Take it from there.
Exactly. This class action is stating that, we should be, and the companies that we're buying from should be more careful and really taking care of these workers who are mining this cobalt that we're using in all of our everyday devices, from our cell phones to the car batteries in Tesla cars, to the computers and laptops. Everything that we're using cordless and wireless now has some lithium ion in it to make that work. You've got cobalt. So this class action really touches on what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where you have workers who are in terrible condition, making just a few dollars a month to mine cobalt, copper, tungsten, gold, tantalum, all these items that are needed to make up the motherboards and the components and these, the batteries themselves. And so it's trying to drive awareness. Now, these big manufacturers have said, hey, we're doing our best to ethically source these components. But this class action is saying that they're not doing enough. They've got a plaintiff who actually, had their legs crushed during a mining operation. You have these miners who might get sick or injured. And so then the mining company says, hey, you're an adult. Where are your kids? Your kids have to take over your load. Someone's got to keep doing these things. And so they force these kids who are, 9 years old or even less than that to go into these very dangerous mines and mine these different, cobalt and other items, and they're dying and they're not getting paid for it. So where does it have to stop? What do we have to do to fix this situation? That's what they're trying to address.
There's another interesting part of this lawsuit, too, that says that all these companies, you've got Apple, Alphabet, Dell, Microsoft, Tesla, they're actually engaged in a bit of a cover-up campaign where they try to go out there, according to the lawsuit, and tell everybody, listen, we're doing the best we can. We're trying to actually put an end to this. We want everything to be ethical and great and wonderful, and no more injuries, no more children working in the mines. But the lawsuit says this isn't true. This is a facade that these companies have joined together to create, when in reality they're doing absolutely nothing and just using this cheap labor, exploiting it to give us our goods that we crave every single year.
Exactly. The class action is stating that they're using these events as photo ops, and it's not the reality of what's happening there. What we would like to see is we'd like to see these companies that we're all buying from that are profiting billions of dollars a year from us, that they're taking some of those profits and that they're, building housing, they're building hospitals, they're doing things to help keep these workers clothed, fed, taken care of. If they're impoverished, let's make sure the money's going to where it helps. And when you're going into the Democratic Republic of Congo, where it's going to be a lot harder to make sure that money is going where you want it to. There people are going to be skimming off the top, but we really want to see more corporate ownership of these working conditions, and we want to see these corporations do more. Don't just make a photo op and go somewhere, where you actually have built housing for the workers and say, look, this is great. Show us that you're doing that for every mine that you source from, for every village that's supporting you. We want to see that kind of support from these companies, and that's what this class action is looking for.
Right. It's more about inspiring change or forcing change, really, because that's the only way you're going to get it with some of these companies. You have to force them to do it. So it's about forcing that change rather than, hey, let's make a quick buck on a lawsuit. That's not what this is. This is the system is broken. We have to fix it. And this is the only way to do that. For more information about this issue, follow the link in the description of this video, head on over to Top Class Actions, and make sure you sign up for their weekly newsletter. Scott Hardy with Top Class Actions. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time, Farron.
Every year, 1 million hernia surgeries are performed in the United States. Unfortunately, some mesh implants that are used in these surgeries have caused complications, including infection and organ damage that led to surgeries to correct those problems. If this has happened to you, learn more about the hernia mesh lawsuit by going online to hernia.law or call us for a free consultation about your legal rights.